Alright, it's so amazing outside, so beautiful, so gorgeous. Uh, just wanted to, talk about the relevance of how presence helps you to enjoy your environment a lot more. Um, Now, take your five senses. That's a great starting point. You see things, but when you see them, are you really seeing them for what they are, or are you judging them? And I mean, it's good to perceive things and give them context, but are you really seeing them for their true essence? And not to sound like oh, well, their vibes coming off of things, but like, if you look at a tree, it's breathing. We can't see that happening, but it's happening. A lot of times people label a tree as a tree, but that's like calling a human a stick figure. It takes away so much of the depth of that majestic entity that the tree is. Now, first you have to be present to even see presently. Usually taking a breath helps. Just to slow the mind, to clear out the thoughts that are going on, that are coloring your perception of that tree. And then we'll just skip to the next sense for this example's sake. You hear things. I just heard a bird. I can hear cars going by on the freeway. I can hear the wind going through trees. I can hear cars going by on the street nearby. There's so much that I just labeled as what it is, but even then I was just like, car, and it kind of stifled the amount of intake I could have for that sound, because that's a filter. Now, obviously, you can deductive reasoning. You can tell that rustling leaves, that chirping bird. But even then, are you just going around being like, I spy bird, I spy tree, I spy wind? Or are you really listening to the sound from the frequencies? Hey there, welcome. Talking about presence and nature, how the senses bring in, a more enhanced version of your environment when you're present to the moment, as opposed to, just labeling things as you've been conditioned to identify them. Thank you, appreciate it. So going off the sound waves that you're hearing, you could stop at labeling them, or you could, stop thinking about them for their name's value and listen to the sound waves that they're producing, that your ear is catching, those vibrations, and, enjoy the essence of the sound, as opposed to just, hearing and then waiting to hear the next thing. Sink into it and enjoy that sound. Now, taste is kind of hard when it comes to nature, because you're not going around licking flowers. So, I mean, I don't really know how to address presence and taste, but maybe you're drinking a fine glass of water outside, and you're enjoying that water, and you're like, water tastes like every glass of water that I ever drank, but the temperature of the water is probably different than the last glass of water. The amount of water in your mouth, the volume, probably not paying attention to that. The could be some alkaline water, could be some Fiji water, could be some tap water, could be water out of a hydro flask with ice, could be room temperature, but you're just like, water, drinking this fluid, yes. But from a place of presence, you can enjoy the nuances within the water and how your body's interpreting and receiving it. Just because humans live off of water and are made of water, your body has water receptors, so there's a little extra there that you're missing out on when you just do it for the sake of doing it, as opposed to taking the time to enjoy what you're doing in the moment, which is that drinking that water, and taking the time to enjoy the sensation of it. So we've gone over sight, hearing, taste, smell, You know, with how open the outdoors is, you know, hopefully you're getting a nice clean fresh air smell and not car exhaust, or maybe you're getting a pleasant smell of a plant. You could, you know, smell it and be like, ah, that's this, or that's the wind or the breeze. But think of your nose, how powerful a tool that is to just go and be sniffing for no reason, just breathing in for no reason, without, you know, taking the time to enjoy that. You know, you breathe through your mouth, maybe you can taste something on your tongue, not likely, but your nose is much more sensitive. And if you're really in the moment and really taking a second to have a more enhanced experience of your environment, then, you know, being present does help to enjoy the sense of smell a lot more. And, you know, last is touch, and this is huge because you can feel with not just your hands but your whole body. So when the wind goes by, it hits your face differently than it does your arm. Can you feel your clothes moving, your hair moving as the wind passes through it? You know, let's see what else. Your feet on the ground as you walk. You know, you have your sole of your shoe. Maybe you're wearing socks. Maybe you're wearing a sandal. You know, there's different levels of fabric that you feel even before you're feeling the ground underneath your foot. If you're present and you can enjoy a step, the sensation, you're like, ah, my body is traveling across this vast planet. I'm trekking. Even if it's just across the grass in your yard, you know, there's ridges and mounds that your feet are passing over, sticks and acorns and mounds of dirt, grass, maybe branches. But, you know, you miss all that when you're not being present. And it's still going on, but, you know, you're just choosing to settle for less. And I mean, we've touched on all the senses, and, you know, how being present helps you to have more enhanced view and experience of your environment. But, you know, it goes a lot deeper than that, because you could do that, but say a present moment only lasts a second or two, then you're back to thinking, back to getting taken over by the unconscious overstimulation of, you know, everything that's happening around you, and you can't take in everything from every sensory input receptor that you have and process it without, you know, having a couple things be labeled or judged, or a couple things be misinterpreted. So in order to really take in that nature for all it is and enjoy what's going on outside, even if you're in a concrete city, you're in the great outdoors, outside of a box structure, and immersing yourself into the environment, you know, more. So anything could be considered outdoors if it's not indoors. I mean, could be considered nature if you're outdoors and not indoors. And maybe you have nature indoors. Maybe you have some plants. Maybe you have a open space area where breeze can pass through. And, you know, there's any environment. I'm not just limiting this to going on a walk or a hike. It could be applicable anywhere. But going back to taking your sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing, sight, taste, touch, smelling, hearing. Yeah, taking those five senses and, you know, understanding a little bit better now of how to take in a more present experience through them. You know, let's go back to just the root of your brain and slowing down that thinking so that you can really take things in. Now, for example, I'm sure you can hear birds through the video. You know, birds are chirping, birds through the audio. I'm gonna just focus on making sure I don't lose track of the sound of the birds. Okay, now I'm gonna add in a layer I hear the breeze. I'm going to focus on the birds and the breeze. Alright, there's a lot in front of me. I'm going to try to do almost like a panorama like you would with a camera, and pan and take in little nuances of the sticks on the ground, the little pollen falling from the trees, the different leaves on the trees, so that I can add a little bit more than just the sounds behind me. I got a helicopter I got to add into my RAS now. Each time I look at a tree, try to pick up a different leaf, not just look at it as a blob of green or just an entity. As I'm swaying back and forth here, I'm feeling under my feet a little bit more of each step, in addition to paying attention to the sounds and the sights. I can smell the flowers that are kind of nearby me, so I gotta keep track of that, you know. I can't really taste much, but I'm gonna taste the breeze, some fresh air on my tongue. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, those are all the senses. So that was just like a little exercise I do sometimes to help me get a little more present, you know. I'll go into the now, and I'll try to keep track of things that are around me that I can experience, as opposed to just getting, you know, sucked away in thought about what is around me. I'll try to focus on the actual moment to moment of those things, instead of, you know, just being like, air, wind, being like, oh, so the wind is increasing in the pressure that I'm feeling against my face. The ground is now on a hard surface. You know, there's modifiers to everything that you can, you know, add like little data points, and, you know, can deepen your sense of your oneness with your environment. Now, obviously we've talked about the senses. I don't want to rap about that too much. But overall, say you have certain views of certain climates, certain weather circumstances that color your perception of nature when you go out. You know, it's a rainy day. How do you feel about that? It's a sunny day. It's an overcast day. It's a hot day. It's a humid day. It's a cold day. It's a windy day. It's a still day. You know, so much stuff that's been labeled, that you've had past experiences with, that probably colored and put like almost like an Instagram filter over your perception of how much you're going to enjoy it and which way you're going to take it to be. Howdy. But the more you try to uncondition yourself from relying on those past experiences, you know, the more you'll enjoy the present. And if you can take that past experience and use it as reference, but, you know, why revisit something that's completely different from what you're experiencing now, especially when you're in the vastness of the outdoors. You know, there's limitless possibilities to how you could experience the now. And if you're not present and you're dwelling on the past of, oh, well, a rainy day, it's wet and makes me uncomfortable. It's a hot day, it's humid and I'm uncomfortable. The wind in my eyes. And it could be a pleasant experience too, but say it's a beautiful sunny day and there's some gorgeous clouds and the wind is just right, the temperature making me feel like I'm in homeostasis. But then on this beautiful day, you may have the beautiful clouds, maybe warm, nice breeze, good temperature. But then you're just like, I'll accept this as a good day. But what if it could be an extraordinary day? What if this was the new best nice day you've ever experienced, but you limited yourself by not being fully present and seeing what else there is that you're not seeing? So it can vary so much as to where your blind spots are in terms of what your past perceptions, that Instagram filter, as I used as the example, is there in front of your eyes to skew that judgment. So let me go into another practice of how I presently enjoy nature a lot. Aside from the sensory, I'll really try to still the mind, because to try to take in everything around you is impossible. But to go and add a little bit more depth. There's the infamous breathing. I usually like to breathe in for 5 seconds, hold the breath for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds. Go ahead and do that now. Purpose of me doing that: one, body needs oxygen, but two, it takes my mind off of thinking. Another thing that I'll do, aside from, say, honing in on specific things in the environment, is to look for what's fun, look for what I can enjoy, look for what amuses me. Because if I'm not enjoying myself, then what am I doing? How much time am I wasting? How much energy am I wasting? Just, passing through and going through the motions. Make the most of life from moment to moment. That's something I've over time conditioned myself to do, self-amuse in every environment. And that helps bring me to a place of presence, because there's a ease and lightness when I go about things. And even if it's a walk along the same path that I've walked umpteen times, or if I'm in a vehicle traveling somewhere, I'm outdoors, looking at the same roads, street signs, trees. I'll try to find ways to amuse myself, to take myself out of the what's that junk called, the pattern, to try to break that habit and really get myself to a place where I'm just having fun. There's nothing that's keeping me from fully enjoying my experience because I have an expectation. Definitely want to take away any preconceived notions you have about anything high key, to just give yourself the full range of what you can experience in the now. I'm gonna just take a second and enjoy the now. Kind of went over a bunch of topics, let that marinate, see if I can come up with a question or counter argument. Let's see. Enjoying the details in things in nature helps me to become more present to the moment, to then turn back around and enjoy nature. Take something that's intricate, like a flower. Such a advanced form of life. I'll look at it, I'll see the petals, I'll see the inner part where the pollen's at. I'll evaluate it. I'll follow the stem to the leaves. I'll look at the veins on the leaves, how the light passes through the leaf. See the plant as a whole, and just try to contextualize, like, wow, that's a living entity. And then, thinking of something else that's not me, not even labeling it because I don't really know what breed of plant it is, and just enjoying it for what it is, and seeing all of the little microscopic things that the eye can see about it. It takes me out of thinking and more into just enjoying and being in that moment. Now, you could stare at anything technically. Could stare at the landscape in front of you and have that same experience. Pick out details. It doesn't have to be something small like a flower. It's just one example. Limitlessness to all that you could enjoy with nature and presence. All limitless things that you could enjoy about nature through being present, through presence. And at the beginning, I barely touched on presence. I was just like, the presence is the now. It's not the past, not the future. Just because the word present moment kind of explains itself, but I kind of dove a little bit more into ways to enhance things through presence, but just to give a little bit more context to the present moment itself and the now. Really, your present moment will only grow in depth over time through practice, like a muscle. And one way I like to look at it is adding 0.001% gains, like a little video game level up bar, just going up like bloop bloop bloop, like 0.1% every time I have a present moment. I'm like, yes, I was present. And then it compounds, and a couple seconds of presence turns into maybe 10 seconds of presence, and then you'll have some autopilot unconsciousness. Then you'll go back into presence for another few seconds, and then over time, you'll have minutes of time where you're present. You'll have hours, hopefully. You'll have days of presence. You'll have a whole life of present moments. But stimulus will hit you, and the unconscious overstimulation that's constantly hitting you, that you gotta navigate through. Definitely it's like trying to break through a firewall. So as you grow in presence, and say in relation to the topic of nature, don't get overstimulated by the nature. Be present first, then enjoy the nature. Don't try to rely on the nature or think that just because you're in nature you're present, because your mind is what's keeping you from being present. So you could get caught up in all the glory and beauty of everything that's around you. And hello, welcome. Talking about presence, the present moment in nature, how they coincide in presence, helping you to enjoy nature more. Yeah, so getting a little bit more present, diving into that, and really teaching and training yourself to have extended phases of being present, being at ease, at oneness. And nature's a great place to do that because there are less distractions, but there are also a lot of distractions. And if you really still the mind and don't try to escape through your environment, then you'll be able to enjoy your environment a lot more. So I mentioned like the breathing exercise, the going deeper into your sensory experience with your five senses, building up the habit of stacking the small wins of that 0.001% of, I was present for a short period of time. Then soon that short period of time will grow longer. So it's really a battle against yourself to really commit to getting that down pack so that you can go forward and conquer and really enjoy life for all the small things. And it's almost like a how would I explain it? When I'm unconscious or on autopilot, not present, and I'm looking around and I'm observing plants, the sky, buildings, people, animals, there's almost like a dullness to the way that I'm perceiving the environment. Now say I do the habitual things. I'll like take a breath, try to calm my mind, not think as much. Then there's a little bit more depth. I'll notice a few more details. I'll hear a couple things that were in the background. I'll start to remember to feel a little bit more of the senses that are getting hit in all directions by all of the nature around me, the wind, the sound, the smells, the taste, the feel. And it'll calm down that refrigerator hum, that air conditioning hum of thought in your mind. And then as that deepens, then I'll start to see a little bit more of things, and things will start to look completely new to me than they did a few seconds ago. And I'll be looking at the exact same thing. But because I have less bias from my mind and I'm getting a little bit more present, the not necessarily the color of things will change, but not looking at them through a filter of judgment will help me to really perceive it for all that it is. Like the bark on a tree. Just see the broad color, maybe see some lines, the lines in a leaf, the concrete, the blades of grass, like anything that has a uniform looking texture to it. As I'll become more present, I'll start to see the details in it to kind of draw that example out more in terms of a more collectible data point of what I'm using as a unit of measure. But you know, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just present and now I'm chilling. I feel good internally. I feel relaxed. It doesn't like give me super x-ray vision to see ants a mile away or anything like that. But it does add some more depth to your experience in whichever sensory input you're enjoying when you take the time to still your mind. Now, you know, I feel like I've talked a good deal about presence, about nature, about different examples of how I enjoy and take in the environment. So I feel that I'll go ahead and enjoy some of nature right now. This was a great conversation. I feel like I was able to instill a few stories, a lot of value, nice reminders to go forward, and whether you're indoors or outdoors, but especially when you're outdoors, with all that there is that you could take in on this majestically epic planet that we're on, you know, do it presently. Follow some of those things that I mentioned. The heightening your senses through stilling your mind, so that you can really paint a new picture in each moment of how awesome things are around you. And, you know, sometimes things aren't going to be epic. You know, I can't tell you what your perception is going to be. You know, you might just be salty, and that'll color your perception. You might be trying to get present, or you might be present and just not be in a good mood, but be present. You know, there's all sorts of factors. Everything is subjective. But to, you know, make an effort to try and go that extra mile, to treat yourself to the full experience, to that depth is mainly what I was trying to get at, you know. Why limit yourself? Why sell yourself short? And why settle for anything less than the most, and I say enhanced, because if your default isn't presence, then approaching enjoying your environment through presence is enhanced. At least in my perspective, it is. You're going from a baseline that's missing a lot of things that you're not paying attention to a more full, flushed out, deeper, vivid experience. So, you know, I guess counter arguments to enjoying the present moment in nature, enjoying nature by being present to the moment, is, you know, well, why bother? I'm just passing through. You know, I mean, cool. Well, if that's your objective, to just pass through, then cool. But, you know, you'll miss out on a lot. It's another counter argument that I could think of. Well, there's so much going on around me. How can I be present? I only am present when I meditate and I'm in silence. Well, hey, start meditating in higher stimulus environments. That's what I really love to do. I mean, I can't knock it. Meditation in the cut, you know, no distractions, no stimulus. That's cool and all. You get in your zone. But for me, that's extremely boring, and I can't really do that I mean, I do occasionally, but I prefer to meditate throughout the day, to try to become present in high stimulus environments throughout the day as I meditate. Just because, you know, you're going to live your life out doing things. You know, why try to train in a hyperbolic chamber when the battlefield is such a completely different environment? Now, it does give you great foundation. Just to continue on with the counter argument of being in the cut and having that be your foundation of stillness and presence, as opposed to being out in a higher stimulus environment and being present. And it does give you good foundation, but you know, when variables are thrown at you, you gotta calibrate. You gotta, you know, accommodate. No, yeah, you have to calibrate, and you have to be willing to accommodate your environment, because it's not going to accommodate you. It's just going to be as it is. So I encourage you to try to be present in a higher stimulus environment if it seems too overwhelming. And you know, no one's perfect. I mean, I'm not present a lot. I'm on autopilot a lot. You know, I miss a lot. You know, there's little nuanced details. Sometimes you're tired, you don't have the focus, you know. So just try, just train yourself, get that 0.01%, 0.001% level up. Add the small wins, stack the small wins. Speaking of stacking small wins, what if people are like, oh, well, I tried, but it doesn't really work? Well, it takes time. It takes time. Not going to get it the first time. You're not going to be automatically present for extended periods of time. You know, stack the small wins. Get yourself used to it. Recondition your brain to operate in a different capacity, to where it will become the norm. And you won't be at a loss when you're in a high stimulus environment, when you get shut down by your own mind because you can't stay present for extended periods of time. You know, it's not your fault. You just gotta take a little extra time to nurture and grow that skill set.